Welcome to the Midwest Moguls Show, where we talk all things business, real estate, and entrepreneurship. Let's dive into today's episode and make business enjoyable again. Welcome back to the Midwest Mogul Show. We have Mike Bennet here in the studio with us today. Mike, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we're going to have a conversation. We'll see what's going on today.
All right. Well, thanks, Carter. Thanks, Joe, for having me in today. So I am a full-time real estate agent with Home by Bennett, an agent with ROG Haven. And then I also am a partner in the Northern Lights permanent soffit lighting company that we just started this summer.
Dang.
That's awesome.
So so we were briefly discussing this before the podcast. We had to save the conversation for the podcast. So how did you even get into the lighting space? Is it with partners? Is it by yourself? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so actually the story goes about 4 years ago now. Okay. I got lighting on my house.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And at that time, the company came out and did their sales pitch. My fiance's like, nope, I don't want it, but do whatever you want. And she walked away. So she walked away.
They gave you the green light.
She walked away. That was her blessing, right? That's how it works, right?
That's what I would think.
And,
I would assume that.
Well, and it's funny because the sales guy's like, well, okay, I guess I'll follow up later, after you have a talk with her and see if she... I'm like, no, man, we're getting it.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Here's my card. Let's get it. And so they came out and they put this lighting on my house. I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
I saw a Facebook ad. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Let's put that on my house.
Yeah.
And there were some issues. Both owners came out and overcame the issues, and it was kind of cool. They were smart guys. And, as a business owner, you like to be told how to do your business from somebody in the outside,
of course.
right?
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
When people tell us how to do things specifically.
That's the best feedback.
So that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Is I sent them a really long email on how they should run their business.
How'd that go over?
I didn't hear anything back.
Okay, that's what I was assuming that, but
fast forward 2.5 years later, I got an email. Hey, do you remember us? We weren't in a position to respond to your email back then, and we'd like to have a conversation now.
Interesting.
Seriously.
That's serious. And so they had been following my Home by Bennett business and watching what I was doing in real estate and really liked how I had the growth and, as I exploded that. And so I said, let's have a conversation. And so I sat down, and they ended up bringing me on as their sales and marketing director.
Yep.
Wow.
Two very smart guys. I have nothing but good things to say about them. Unfortunately, by their trade, they just don't understand sales and marketing.
Correct. Mm-hmm. As most people do.
Correct. And it's, sales and marketing is a unique animal. There's a lot of blind faith.
Yep.
Exactly.
And so I was there trying to help them grow, and things just didn't work out. I said, okay, great. I'm not going to change anything I'm doing. Yeah. And so I went back full-time Home by Bennett. One of my real estate clients, his wife is a teacher.
Okay.
And he knew about my venture into Bay Custom.
Yeah.
And I didn't really go public with it with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But he was one of the people I talked to, kind of pick his brain, business smart.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about it. He was like, what's that opportunity like? I'm like, well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
He's like, well, my wife's burned out. What's the opportunity? And I'm like, there's a good opportunity. It's a brand new category.
And we'll get into that a little bit because I want to know specifically what it is. But okay.
So we fast forward. We talked about it, and I'm like, well, it takes time, money, and energy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And he goes, let's do it.
Dang.
And so he's like, here's the capital.
Yeah.
And so
holy shit.
Yeah.
That's insane.
His wife came up with the name, which is a home run, like Northern Lights.
Correct.
Come on.
That isn't. That's
I was going to say.
Perfect.
Come on. And so we've been public and live since Labor Day.
Okay.
Dang.
Yeah.
What is now? Okay, getting into what I guess what would be like if you were telling someone, okay, what is Northern Lights? What does that pitch look like?
Yep. So we are an illumination company. We help businesses or homes illuminate their home.
Okay.
We provide a solution to give permanent lighting to your home that you can creatively customize and change without altering your house.
So it's like just if you were giving us an example of a job, like what would that, like your house, like when you hired the company to come and customize your house or whatever, what does that look like?
Yeah, so the goal is so you don't actually see it. The goal is to make it invisible and just provide the illumination of light on the house and give a color wash. So to provide a color wall on your house, and like it's a 10 to 15 foot glow around most homes, and it just provides that color. So be it white, be it red and blue, be it Packer colors, whatever, but it just provides that color wash. For me, because I'm working at night a lot, it provides some security to know that if somebody walks up to my house, because I live in a dark area, that my family's going to be able to see who that person is walking up without having spotlights. Or I'm not a big fan of motion lights. You know, the big spotlight on you.
They're terrible.
They're
I mean,
exactly.
No offense to anyone who has them, but
let's dial that out.
But contact Northern Lights if you need.
We don't do spotlights. But it provides that elegance, that architectural lighting. And you don't have to have a $1 million home to want architectural lighting. I have a very simple ranch with one gable. Mine's a straight roof, one gable. That's it. And I love lighting it up. And you know, back in the day, even just still to this day, people think they have to have this big, luxurious home in order to have this type of lighting. You don't. You can have fun.
Well, that was
with
my
it.
first. Yeah, that was my first thought pattern. I'm going through my mind. I'm like, well, that it seems like a little bit higher end marketplace, but not necessarily in a way of being like people with cheaper houses wouldn't purchase it. But I'm like, well, that seems kind of like a custom feature, like a custom touch to things, which is, I think the market for that, like most affluent people aren't necessarily affected by recessions and everything like that. So you have a business that is almost recession resistant for the most part, kind of, sort of.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a luxury item. We are a premium product. We are probably we are on the higher end of products on the market. There's 5 major manufacturers of permanent lighting across North America. We're on the higher end by design. But we also created an opportunity for affordable payments for people. So we partnered with a finance company that doesn't upcharge us.
That's huge.
So a lot of people don't understand when you're, especially in home services, when you're financing, that company that's providing the financing is paying for that financing. That was something I didn't know.
I was going to say, I didn't even know that was the case. I thought it was going to be more on the homeowner, the person doing or getting the financing.
No, typically the service provider, the plumber, the electrician, if they're providing financing, they're having to pay for that option to provide that financing.
That's interesting.
And so I wanted to find a solution. To your point, Carter. I wanted anybody to be able to afford monthly, if not write a check. Now, probably 60% of people write a check. But we want to be able to help people that can't afford to write a check and to be able to still give them the same.
Yeah, that is.
And so so we offer payments from on 0% all the way up to 10 years. Now it's credit dependent.
Correct.
It's still through lending.
You
know, you still have to qualify. Most homeowners do. So it provides that option. But again, this is an all new segment, and a lot of contractors aren't going down that path because they don't know they can do that. It takes research.
Well, and I think so many people, and we've had past discussions on this. We were talking with, and it would probably a good resource just to know, but we had Nathan Laporte in here. I don't know if you've ever heard of him or anything, but Nathan runs a construction business, and he just said that like there's certain ways that things are done that some contractors are stuck in their ways. They're never going to change. They're never going to do anything different. And I think with a lot of the home services businesses, that could be a very similar route, whether it was, a lot of people are, of course, adapting, getting new technology, offering financing, offering these different things, but a lot of contractors are just grinding it out, for lack of a better term. So it's so interesting.
Well, and to put that in the context, our business is pacing to do just shy of what my prior business has done in 4 years, like At their year 4, year 5 right now, we are going to do just as much in revenue as a brand new company.
That's insane.
As they are.
Yeah.
And they're an established company. Like, kudos to them. But by just making some minor tweaks and some adjustments and some different thought processes, being outside the box.
Correct.
And you and I have known each other a minute.
Yeah.
You know I'm outside the box.
A little bit. You can say that.
This isn't PG rated, right?
Hey, you're good. You're good to say whatever.
I mean, you and I are walking through houses with guns out one day.
No kidding. Like there's been some. So like on that note, so with obviously the startup, the founding of this business, there's multiple things that went into it. Mm-hmm. Your background is essentially being a real estate agent, operating a real estate business. Mm-hmm. What made you add this on as a additional item that you want to be responsible for? Is it more so like the business operation side, or how do you get from where you were to where you are now? Is kind of the
So it's kind of corny, but legacy.
Okay.
Building it for my daughters.
Yep.
Okay. Building something tangible. So I'm building Home by Bennett for a legacy. Yep. And I'm building Northern Lights for a legacy. To provide financial freedom and to provide something that my daughters and family can utilize, my partners' families can utilize. Mm-hmm. And so really it's about the challenge and that opportunity.
Correct.
It has nothing to do about lighting. I'm not an electrician.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want me on the ladder installing these on your home. They're low voltage. Yeah. They're plug and play, and I still screw it up. But I'm the pretty face of the company. Yeah. But it's about the legacy. My fiance and I talk about it all the time because I'm very, very mindful of being present. Yeah. I want to be present in my family's eyes, and I'm working 18-hour days right now.
Holy shit.
But it was a sacrifice. Yeah. We actually had a family meeting coming back from a safari in Lake Geneva. We were down there for the day, driving through one of these drive-through safaris. It's a beautiful time. And my fiance, her daughter, who was 9 at the time, we talked on the way home, and I said, hey, we're going to do this. Yep. Northern Lights is going to be a part of it, but there's going to be a sacrifice between now and the end of the year. Yep. But so we had that conversation about what the sacrifice is going to be for that point of I want to build that legacy. Yep. I don't care if it's real estate, lighting. Correct. I mean, I was in the running to purchase the Oshkosh Arena. Yeah. And that wasn't because I know what I'm doing. It's to leave a legacy. Mm-hmm. Correct. And so that's what I look for.
That's awesome.
And that's it has me reflecting. That's what in the last probably few weeks or month or so, we've been restructuring a lot of the stuff in our business. And then we had a conversation about this not too long ago because I have a bad habit of doing a lot myself and putting a lot on my shoulders. And it's just like
You're welcome.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Thank you. That's a huge
shout out to Jessica.
Yeah, no kidding. Because that alone is saving me. It's so much time and energy and effort. But when you try to do everything yourself and you don't surround yourself with decent people, and it's not even the fact that we don't have decent people around us, but still like this, and I don't know what it is. It's probably just a mindset sort of shift. But to get to the point of leaving the legacy of operating a business that can survive yourself or whomever's running it is pretty admirable. And that's kind of the impressive part.
Well, and I had this conversation with one of the agents in our firm are you a CEO of your business? Are you an employee of your business? Mm-hmm. Can you step away from your business and your business operate on the same level, same results, same success, and then you walk back in? Yeah. Or if you step away, does it fall on its face? Yeah. That's the difference. And we are building both Home by Bennett and Northern Lights in that aspect, in that mindset of if I step away from Home by Bennett, it's still operating. Yeah. Like people don't even know it, and I'll share it here first time, is I stopped publicly lead generating on Easter this year.
Damn. Because, that's pretty crazy.
Because that's when I put the group of people together to buy the Oshkosh Arena. Yeah. And that was 100% my focus from Easter through August. Yeah. Dang. July. And I wasn't publicly, but yet if you look at our stats, I'm still in the top 1% of real estate agents in the nation for ROG. And because I've built the business to operate that way. Yep. Same thing with Northern Lights. Well, right now I can't step back.
Yeah.
But my partners are strategic in the place of we all have our roles.
Correct.
And that was the key thing, is really identifying, and this is probably where most people have a hard time, is identifying what your strengths are.
Yep.
Knowing and being okay going, Joe, you're not the face.
Yep.
You're the guy behind the face.
Yep.
Cool. Carter, you're the face because nobody likes you anyway.
It's very true. You can have a big ego.
Yeah.
But that's the point, is knowing your roles and knowing, being able to humble yourself.
Correct.
And that's what I've done and been able to do through myself is, man, I know I'm not the tech guy.
Yeah.
I can't set this up.
Well, this is learning curve right here.
Yeah, this is above me all day long. Again, I'll sit in the chair. I'll be the pretty face. But that's it. But knowing that, I went to my partners in Northern Lights and said, yo, I can't do this. I need you to do this for me.
Makes sense.
And they're like, yeah, that's our sweet spot.
Yeah.
Cool.
What do you, in your mind, and Joe and I have talked about this a lot, but what do you think the catalyst for a successful business, if you had to boil it down to two things, we'll say, what do you think will always push the needle forward, even if like the other stuff isn't being handled? And I have an idea, at least in our business, what always pushes the needle forward. But
what does it push for you guys?
Like it's lead generation, marketing and sales. It's always marketing and sales.
Yeah.
And we can fuck up the transaction management or miscommunicate or whatever the case is.
Yep.
But if we're still marketing and sales, we can get by. Now, of course, everything plays into it, especially if we're doing renovations and so on and so forth.
Right.
But the marketing and sales, at least for us, is probably the most vital part, because without that, at least in my mind, we don't have a business. Like we can't generate leads. We can't put properties under contract or whatever the case is. Can't get listings.
See, so for Northern Lights, I think branding is probably one of them.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Because it's a new category.
Right.
That's
I
very
show
true.
up at homes, people don't know what permanent soffit lighting is.
That's exactly, we just had this conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not marketing and sales, yes.
Yep.
Because obviously we're a sales organization.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
But it's branding and our story. So right now we are so focused on building our brand and sharing our story that when we show up, people know what Northern Lights does and is. And that's what we want to curtail. So I would say right now, branding and story. Home by Bennett, it probably is the same.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I've ever even shared this with you. So Home by Bennett, I'll be finishing up my 4th year this December in real estate.
That's all that you've been in real estate for?
I'll have almost 200 transactions done.
Shit.
Jeez.
That sounds like way too much work.
So this is where I'm going to pay kudos to Carter. So I got to look at Joe because I don't need to see his ego grow, right? You know what I mean, Joe?
Hey, Joe got a little bit of an ego grow on a couple podcasts ago from a guy.
Hey, we're pants on, or
Joe was about to rip him off.
Yeah.
That's how much it grew is.
So my first year in real estate, I was focused. I didn't know anything. I got into real estate from being in the car business for 20 years.
Yep.
I didn't know anything about real estate. I focused on residential sales and home and listings and buying. My second year, I was in Phoenix. I got a call from an asset management company asking if I wanted 10 foreclosures. I didn't know anything about foreclosures. Said yes. The answer is always yes, Carter.
That's fair.
I sold those 10 in 7 days. 7 of them to somebody in this room.
No, we probably shouldn't have bought them, but we have this office.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, we don't want to talk about how much money you lost in that transaction. Thank you, by the way.
I'm sure it turned out wonderful for you.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
of those were really good.
Yeah.
There's some that were duds. I knew that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's anytime you buy a portfolio, you're going to have the home runs and you're going to have the duds. But during that, it made me go, ooh, what's this investor side of the business? Since then, I educated myself the rest of that year, my second year, on wholesale, investments, investors, who people like Carter are, you are, Joe. And I really started branding my business that way. So last year I did 40-ish transactions for Home by Bennett. 60% of those were investor-based relationships. And so
that's insane.
So this year, in June, July, I sold my database. I sold Home by Bennett's customer database.
Really?
Interesting.
Damn.
Because I shifted Home by Bennett strictly to referrals and investor relationships. So working with just the people like you guys and my referrals.
Yeah, exactly.
And that last year, between investors and my referrals, my sphere of influence, that was 73% of my business.
Yeah. It's fucking nuts.
Right. And so we all know the stats.
Yeah.
You know, nationally, real estate agents do less than 5 transactions. I'll do 30 to 35 this year with only 3 months of lead gen.
Jeez. And probably not a whole lot of overhead.
Now that I got rid of all the marketing companies, because I was paying for a premium for good marketing, and they were great.
Yeah.
But I don't need that. I took what they taught me, and now I do that.
Yep.
You know, my videos, my listing hype videos reach 40,000 people. Yeah. You know, they get 40,000 views. My Facebook reaches 220,000 people.
Jeez. That's insane.
So, but when I sit in front of a seller now, somebody listing their house,
correct,
I can say, hey, how would you like to have 4 times the population of Oshkosh see your house? What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's the next question.
So,
yeah, so when it came to selling, like having the realization, at least in the real estate agent business, because I know that's a grind. It's an absolute grind. And that's what I told Joe. I'm like, Joe, when I got in as a real estate agent, like you're working so much, and like you're going out on these showings. If the buyers don't show up, or they're like, he recently listed a flip.
You didn't call me?
No, I listed it for him.
It's
a in the office sort of scenario.
Joe, do you want it sold?
hey, we sold in less than a week.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, but on that, like, there's an agent had filled out feedback like, hey, the house is too big for the buyer. I'm like, yeah, it's a 2,600 square foot house.
Yeah.
Like that's
right.
Like they didn't realize that before going. So you have so much time wasted. What do you have more now that you're slowly not transitioning out? I don't want to use that term, but you're getting away from a lot of the marketing and lead gen side of the real estate agent business, working off a referral basis. Do you find yourself enjoying it more than you previously did, or what's that experience been like?
No, I'm weird.
Yep.
I like first time home buyers. I like lead gen.
You're insane.
Well, but that goes. So when I owned my insurance agency back in Oshkosh, I owned a farmer's agency years ago, and I used to make 200 cold calls a day.
Yeah.
That was on my, before I could leave my office, I had to make 200 cold calls a day.
Yep.
So I like lead gen.
Yeah.
I enjoy the investor relationships and the portfolio purchases.
Oh, of course.
And finding and you know, working those deals, the creative side of things.
Right.
I'm enjoying that more.
Yep.
But I still like first time home buyer. I love first time home buyers to help educate and coach.
Yep.
Because I don't sell anything. I tell everybody when I meet with somebody, I tell them right off the bat, if you want a salesperson, I'm not that person. Go find somebody that's a salesperson. I'm an educator, a coach, a supporter, a counselor.
Pretty good sales process.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
Shut up, Carter.
Oh, that's the same thing we do. But if we can't buy your house, it is what it is. But we'll at least provide you all the information so you can make a proper decision.
We'll coach you through the system. Yes, 100%. But I'm not that pushy salesperson.
Yeah, correct.
Because from day one, I have never chased a commission check.
Yep.
Northern Lights, Home by Bennett, no matter what I've done, I've always made it so I'm not living and dying by your check today.
Yep.
right.
And that's where a lot of failure comes from when in the real estate industry is they're chasing that check because they got to have that check. Even on the investor side, they're chasing that hard money payout.
Yeah.
You know, they're
chasing your next profit on a flip deal, or you're buying a flip that you probably shouldn't have bought. And we've done that plenty of times.
Right. I got a call last night. Investor calls me, goes, hey, what's the legal height in a basement for livable square footage? I'm like, 7 feet. He's like, oh. I'm like, I don't want to know. Don't tell me right now. We'll talk about it later. I said, you got to find it.
Yeah. Better start digging.
Yeah.
Break up the concrete, start digging.
Yeah. Do we need some railroad ties delivered to...
Exactly. Start jacking up the house.
Yeah. But that's, do your due diligence.
I know.
Like when you and I walked those 7 properties originally, we knew what you were walking into.
Correct. Yeah. It was
and we knew if the basement was shot, we knew it.
Yeah.
You don't take the time beforehand.
Yeah. And that's where like taking the steps in the process, even though I don't know, at first you sometimes think it's like, okay, get the jump on things, keep going. Don't hold back. But I've found in plenty of situations, even recently, like we've bought some properties that are they're weird properties. Weird properties typically attract weird people. And
you bought them, Carter?
Yeah. And that's,
he's a weird people.
I'm just chasing the next deal. But that's the thing, like you buy a property and you're like, oh shit, this is on paper, it looks great. Right. Then the reality hits of this probably isn't a smart decision. Like, what did we do?
Yeah.
And that's when it always results in whether it's a negative profit or, I don't know, just commotion after the fact.
Yeah.
So,
but see, I've always used those as learning moments.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of those learning, starting out from scratch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And starting in a new industry. I can't just go copy what Joe did last week because there is no Joe.
Yep.
We're all new.
Yep.
You know, the industry as a whole is less than 10 years old.
That's insane.
Right. And when you think of business, like people, that's a long time. No, that's not.
No, it's like that's freaking blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Right. Real estate and the auto business have been around for over hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Come on. And so we're learning every day. After every meeting, I have a postmortem with myself.
Yep.
Or I'll call one of my partners and say, hey, I did this, this, and this. How could I have done this differently? I built, fun story learning moment. I had somebody build me a profile of a house.
Yep.
It's 36 inches wide by 30 inches tall.
Okay.
We put a soffit on it so I could put lights on it and take those. That's what I was going to drag into houses.
Yep.
This thing is huge.
It's a mess.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Nobody's carrying that into houses. Let me tell you guys right now. In theory, the concept is awesome.
Yeah.
My salespeople all have to have trucks.
Yeah.
And be able to lug this big thing full of 2x4s and beadboard in and around. It ain't happening.
Yeah.
They're going to be great for the showroom.
Yeah.
I have a little box that has 5 lights in it.
Yep.
I use that as my demo. I didn't want to do that at first.
Correct.
People don't mind it.
Yeah.
Touch and feel it.
And that's where I think in our own minds, we hype everything up so much that we're like, before we can even get into it, we need this, and this. Like we need the business logo, we need business cards, we need all these things rather than just starting.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what holds us back. And I find myself even now, like once you have a track record of some sort of success, it gives you the confidence in the ability to move forward, at least a little bit quicker than you have in the past. But there's still things that you like stumble on or you catch, like the property that I was just talking to the city of Oshkosh about. I'm like, I don't know anything about this. Like this is which causes me to have a lot of hesitancy on what I should even do. Is it a deal? Is it not a deal? It sounds like it could be a decent place, but I don't know. And it's like that not knowing factor is where I think partnerships come in. That, okay, can you bring someone on that's a little bit more experienced than yourself?
Right. And that was part of it too with my Northern Lights partners is, you know, they have that contractor background to be able to help with, hey, I mean, this stuff attaches to your soffit by screws. So it's not like we're not changing things. We're not electricians. There's no electrical work need to be done. But there's still a concept of, I know me.
Yep.
I don't know what end of the hammer to use. What am I doing? So, but to your point, we also push each other.
Yep.
I'll be like, hey, let's dump a bunch of money in advertising. They're like, hey, how about we do this first so we don't burn through leads that don't turn into anything?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Happy compromise.
Yep.
But partnerships can also be very challenging.
Well, that's,
Very challenging. And there are moments that even in our young infancy where we're at, we've had those moments of, man, I'm really pissed off right now. But the difference is because we have a relationship prior, we have that conversation and we work through it.
And I think that makes and breaks partnerships right there. Is the ability to have the tough conversations because they're not always easy. It's not always, the business is not always profitable. You're not always having an awesome time when you're in it.
Right.
But the ability to talk through things and not, like, you might want to kill each other, but being able to still work through that.
Joe, that he looked right.
No,
I'm looking in the next room at my dad.
Hey, leave Bryan out of this. Senior citizens don't get picked on during this show.
That's funny. But no, but there's still times that you're like, okay, you're working with family, and that can be difficult because you're like, okay, this is the business, family is family.
Yeah.
Like they should be kept separate. Now, when they're intermingled, it can be difficult. But as long as people are on the same page, that works well. So what have you found, other than the communication, that like it at least from the sounds of it, you get into several different partnerships. Like you're presented with opportunities, or you yourself are presenting opportunities. Why partnerships on your side? Like what is it about partnerships instead of doing it by yourself? At least to be starting, I should say.
Yeah, on both sides to reduce the risk factor on one person.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, you and I were just talking about a real estate opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could figure it out on my own, but I also know my lane.
Yeah.
And so I am all about sharing and spreading the wealth.
Yeah.
I don't need all of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I listed a house on the river 2 years ago, multi-million-dollar home.
In Appleton?
Yep.
Yep.
And I co-listed it with an agent outside of my firm at that time. I got calls, and so did she, from multiple brokers and multiple agents going, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Giving up tens of thousands of dollars. And I said, because I know my lane.
Yeah.
They have a big book of luxury people, and they have experience in this. I'm going to learn.
How was that process? Co-listing.
It was actually because we communicated.
Yeah.
It was good. We ended up not selling the property.
Yeah, that's...
But the whole process, we had open houses together. We had broker opens. We had catered food, music.
Shit.
We did well presenting it.
Yeah.
Just have me list your properties.
I know.
I'm just gonna come for the free food.
No, Joe, I have to list your properties for you to get the free food.
Okay.
The correlation does not work very well with Joe.
No, Joe.
Yeah, I'll just be the buyer.
Hey, that's true.
No. But it goes back to who I am as you know, and it's funny because when I started Home by Bennett, I created the Bennett Pledge.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, what is that? Well, that's just who I am. And the person that helped me design that literally knew me and said, these are your traits from the outside looking in. Huh. So what you get, Home by Bennett, Northern Lights, Mike Bennet hanging out at the Brewers game, they're all the same people. And communication's key. I learned that through life. And people might not like it because not everybody wants to communicate. But it's setting expectations and communicating.
Correct. Yeah, I find it so interesting because that's where, like, we've had previous business partnerships and they've actually worked out well. And then there's some that don't necessarily evolve to partnerships, or I almost have the realization that I feel like partnerships are doomed to fail when every partner has the same personality and same expertise in the sorts. And that's where I'm like, I notice relationships that we have that I'm like, probably wouldn't be great long-term partners, but for right now or whatever the case is, perfectly fine. Like there's nothing wrong with exactly what we're doing.
Right.
But it's when they're too similar, and that's not necessarily a bad thing because I'm pretty awesome.
Ego inflated.
Move over here.
But no, with that being said, though, I'm like, okay, having that realization early is probably a little bit better than having it 6 months after the fact, or 9 months, or 12 months, or then you're divorcing the business relationship, so to say. But in your opinion, Joe, ask any questions that come top of mind if you have anything. But I wanted to get into, and this might offend some real estate agents, but that's totally fine.
Let's do it.
So with real estate agents, why do you think most of them suck? Like, in lack of a better term, because a lot of them are horrible, and they're horrible to deal with.
Real easy. 4 letters. Lazy.
Oh, that's fair.
Lazy. Not problem solvers.
Yep.
People get into real estate thinking it's quick money.
Yep.
I'm going to sell a house. I'm going to make 20 grand.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's break that down.
Yep.
Because Uncle Sam gets 42%.
Yep.
If you're good.
Yeah.
Okay. Now your marketing team, they get a chunk.
Yep.
Your photographer, because you shouldn't be using cell phone photos, get a chunk.
Yep.
Your TC, because you should have a transaction coordinator.
She gets a chunk.
Carter. Carter.
And she does now.
Carter.
She does now.
Joe, did Carter tell you that conversation that I had with him last week?
Hey,
No.
but Joe knows I hired someone. So it's,
Yeah.
I'm like, after the conversation, it was cemented in my mind that I needed to hire someone. But then I'm like, I just need to know who to hire. And then, but we'll have her most likely, and I'll have to talk to Jessica about this, but take over like so the CB home side is actually super easy. It's way easier than the real estate agent side because there's no contingencies, there's no nothing. So it's basically just a few emails back and forth. But I'll probably have her take that over as well.
Yeah.
And then just.
I already told her.
Yeah. That's so.
You're welcome.
That's perfect. Well in advance.
But no, that really is, to me, it's two things. It's laziness. They think it's easy money.
Yep.
You got to work for this money.
Yep.
You can't just drop a listing on the MLS. Now,
Yep.
for the last 3 years,
Correct.
What have you been able to do?
Yep.
Drop it on the MLS and sell it in a day.
Yep.
That's not anymore. Like, we've seen that shift.
Correct.
We've seen that big shift.
It's huge.
Earth shattering.
Yep.
And then the other part is they're not creative problem solvers.
Yep.
You have to be a problem solver. I took on those 10 foreclosures.
Yep.
I had no idea what we were doing.
Yep.
You and I walked in and we didn't know if people were living in them.
Correct.
Oh, by the way, there was
Yeah,
somebody
I know.
living in one of them.
Oh, shit.
It was supposed to be vacant.
Yeah.
We walked up and heard the AC running.
Yeah. I know the exact, because that house and I don't know if it was the people who bought it from you.
Yeah.
But I saw that it was completely remote. It turned out really well.
Oh, really?
Like it's quartz counters and everything. But that's,
Wow.
yeah, it was like, in that neighborhood, I'm like,
Yeah, that's a little
probably
over the
wouldn't have
top.
done that. But.
Yeah.
Know your neighborhood?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
But that's so that's the other, and then education.
Yeah.
I'm always educating myself. I'm always searching and researching and looking into things, days on market, neighborhoods.
Yep. Yep.
Gotta know those things, but also know when you're out of your lane.
Yep.
And like that luxury riverfront home that I listed, I was out of my lane, but it was a lead.
Yep.
I'm not going to just give it up. I'm going to create a problem solve.
Yep.
Who in my network? Cool. This person did. And I trust that person. That's the other key thing is the trust.
And do you now, because I've worked with agents who are really, really good, meaning that they do a high, I shouldn't say good, they do a ton of production.
Yeah.
So they're, whether it's listing or buyers or whatever the case is, but they're absolutely horrible to work with. In your experience, what's that been like for you? Have you had the same experience? Has it been?
I have.
Yeah. What do you think causes that? Because I think I know what causes it, but
Joe, what you were going to say something, it looks like.
No, I want to hear your answer.
Ego.
that's
Ego, and not smart. Like, because they do a lot of transactions, they think they're the gift of real estate, and they're horrible at communicating. I had a listing agent respond to me via text saying, I don't answer my call for other realtors. What?
Yeah.
Like, this is a communication business. How are we going to negotiate?
Correct.
I literally had to do that whole transaction via text message. I've yet to this day ever talked to that agent on the phone.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
That's so nuts.
Now, in perspective, you're a very successful business. You're a very successful business. You pick up your phone
Correct.
and answer it.
Yeah.
Even when you're busy,
Yeah.
you'll answer it.
Yeah.
My phone is always on.
Yeah.
I will always answer it. And you can look up the stats. I'm one of the top agents in the state. I always answer my phone. So ego is, I think, what some people can be successful despite being good.
When I find it so hard to believe that, like, and I have an agent in particular that I don't get along with very well. And it's fine.
I'm
it
the
is what
same
it is.
one you are.
It might be. But with that particular agent, I just, like, how do buyers, sellers, people, like, how do they not realize that? Like, that they're terrible, not terrible people, because they're probably
they're good people.
But they're just, like, fucking rude and like entitled and.
Oh, we're definitely thinking of the same person.
Okay, well, it's we might be. We'll talk after this. Drop a comment down below on who you might think it is.
Oh god.
Free lunch and Zeronis for the right pick.
Exactly. That's funny.
No, you're 100% is. I ask myself that question. I'm like, how does that person get all of those listings or work with all those buyers? I don't know.
No. Joe, what do you think on that?
I think it has
from
to
an outside perspective looking in.
Yeah. I mean, it could possibly also be the fact that the people that they're dealing with or they're listing their houses with have the same kind of, I guess, personality.
Oh, that's fair.
Birds of a feather.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's very true.
I feel like that. I mean, a lot of people will kind of want that person that's going to be just straightforward. Sometimes they are a little bit on the aggressive side, but they see that as, okay, at least they're on my side and they're going to be selling my house. So that's where I'm thinking there could be a reason why people are actually wanting to go with them, just for that pure fact that they're going to be aggressive maybe with it. Now that aggressiveness doesn't always translate to being smart and having the best intentions. So that's...
I don't know if it's aggressiveness though. When
I don't think so.
Because I think you have to be aggressive you're aggressive when it comes to sales and not necessarily in a pushy sort of way, but just being intentional.
Right. Right.
But this would be like if we were having a conversation and I kept belittling you every single time that we're in the midst of the conversation. You're like, why is he saying that? Or what's going on? And we do it in a joking manner.
Right.
But if it was not in a joking manner, and one time with one agent in particular, I'm like, I'm not even going to get into it.
I've got a story.
Yeah, go for it.
It was my first year in real estate. And now my first year, keep in mind, I did 33 transactions.
That's insane. That's insane numbers.
No ego with it though. I was just doing it. I had no other choice. I invested $100,000 of my own money. I cashed in my 401k and said, I'm all in with Mike Bennet.
That's sick.
I was doing my second transaction with an agent, and they are a top producing legacy agent, been around for a long time, strong, top agent. They were trying to bully me because I asked questions. And they're like, no, you don't have to do this, or no, you don't have to do that. I literally, mid-conversation, said, stop. And they're like, what? And I said, I am new to real estate, but I'm not new to sales. I've been in sales my whole life. Real estate is just another sale process. As much as they say I'm not a salesperson, 100%, it's a sales transaction.
Exactly.
And I said, you are trying to run me over. You need to speak to your family because your family knows me for years. Learn who I am before you come back to me. They did. They came back. They never apologized.
Of course. No, you're not going to get an
apology. No, but they took a different tone. And now I've done more transactions with them at a different level. So I had to figuratively punch them in their nose.
I know.
And call them out for it.
You do. And I think in those scenarios, because the one that I had was a very similar situation of, it was like the belittling comments. I'm like, I'm not stupid. I literally said that to them. I'm like, I'm not an idiot. I know what I'm doing, what's going on, what we're negotiating for. I said, this is what's in the best interest of my client. I said, I'm putting it out there. I'm like, if your seller doesn't like it or if your buyer doesn't like it, this is what it is. Like, figure it out. And then it just shuts them down and you can kind of move on. But yeah, it's an interesting industry. And I think, I guess no matter what the industry is, you obviously can have success regardless of what you are. In real estate agents, there's just a lot of commissions involved or dollars that are at risk. But
it's, are you the CEO or are you the employee of your real estate business? For a long time, I was the employee of Home by Bennett because I didn't have that mindset.
Correct.
And people
I recently came across that mindset on our side.
And that's it. But again, I also don't fly a flag saying, I've done $12 million this year. I know what I'm doing. Because realistically, $12 million in LA is 2 transactions.
Right.
You take those TV shows. This is what I love. I love people that call me, hey, is selling Beverly Hills the same as real life? No.
It's reality TV.
Yes.
Right. It's scripted. But also, okay, fine. Some of those agents are very Ryan Serhant. Awesome. I've taken some of his training. It's amazing. His branding, to the point back. But also, you put those agents in our market, they starve. They're eating ramen noodles and SpaghettiOs. They can sell the $6 million house in LA because they're pretty. and the agents are pretty and they know pretty people
Yep.
that have money, they can't sell a $200,000 house.
Correct.
That has
Spider webs in the ceiling.
Spider webs, a limestone foundation
Yeah.
that they think is leaking, but it's actually made to do that.
Yeah.
They can't do that.
Correct.
So I tell everybody, hey, put me up against those agents.
Yep.
Put me in LA for a week. I couldn't put up those people,
Yeah.
so I'd fail. But
It's such an interesting, and I almost think like the work ethic of people from the Midwest is so much greater than that this is a very, very much of a speculation, but I would attest to the work ethic in the Midwest being a lot better than on the coast, like just the grind of things. And I just, like when it comes down to like even being in Florida and then my dad with their experience in Florida with contractors and everything like that, like the work ethic is just not there. Like I don't want to call it laziness, but just the
pace.
More laid back.
The pace.
Yeah.
It's the pace. I lived in Florida 3 times.
Yep.
It is the pace that things move at. Here we're
Correct. Yeah, it's fast.
Yeah.
down there. It's
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly
which,
it.
hey, you know what? Kudos.
I know.
Yeah.
They've built their life
I know.
doing that, and they've built their ecosystems and their economies that way. Awesome.
Yeah.
The 3 of us are from here.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
I was gonna say.
So what do you see like moving forward from your side of things? What's kind of the goals in the next, I'll say you can give us a perspective from maybe a year from now, 3 years from now, and then eventually 6 or 7 years from now. Like if you even have a plan in place and it's.
I do. For me, 6 years from now is scaling back very much so on the work side.
Yeah.
And spending time with my kids.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, my daughter's 2.5.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. She's young.
I'm an old man. I'm the old dad in the house. Let me tell you, we just started gymnastics, and it's, with 2-year-olds, they're not doing gymnastics, you guys.
Right.
They're tumbling, and it's moms and dads do it with them. It's not them on their own.
You probably look pretty good in like a leotard or something. Is that what you wear?
You want to come watch? Yeah, there's no photos allowed. Thank you very much. Thank you. You can stand at the door and wait for me.
That's funny.
But no, so 6 years from now, 7 years from now, I want to be ready to be financially set where I can go spend time with my family. But I want to get back into volunteering.
Okay.
For many years when I owned my insurance agency here in Oshkosh, I volunteered. I spent a lot of time doing nonprofit stuff. I was part of many committees, raised a lot of money, 7 figures for nonprofits here in the Oshkosh area. I'm starting to dip my toe back into that a little bit with a big project that I'll be going public with here shortly. And then I want to get more into that, and I want my family to be more involved.
Yeah.
And then so kind of like in the next year, looking at it multi-head, Home by Bennett, I want to continue to scale the investor projects.
Yeah.
I want to partner with some of those investor projects, but get more involved in that. I have conversations with some partners to build a subdivision to help with affordable living.
That's huge.
Yeah.
There's such a need for it.
100%.
Yeah.
So we're working through some logistics on it right now, but that's a project that we've been thinking of, big scale things. And then Northern Lights is really just continuing to ramp up. I want to be the go-to name, the household name when it comes to permanent soffit lighting, and to be able to give back through that company and make people's lives different. It's silly, but I think back to a time where we were all locked in our houses for months on end, and Oshkosh canceled their firefighter toy drive. Yeah. And I jumped in the back of a truck for 14 nights and dressed up as Santa.
That's cool.
And
giving me goosebumps.
Yeah.
No, I can tell you, man, it was cool, and we probably had more adults excited than kids.
Really?
Yeah. Every night I drove around, so I borrowed the maps from the Oshkosh Fire Department and then asked for permission. Sorry.
There you go.
Ask for forgiveness, not for permission. And then it started out, it was going to be just 1 or 2 nights, and it ended up being 14 nights in the month of December. I also had to notify, the police and the sheriff to let them know that I'm going to be standing in the back of a truck that's moving because I'm just a citizen. I'm a civilian. And there was 2 big moments that I can remember. One, we were coming down Congress, and a girl and her mom were standing on the corner of their house, at the corner where their house was. And you could tell her daughter had a disability.
Okay.
But her daughter was jumping up and down and just cheering
so cool.
for me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Another one was we went out to a neighborhood off of 9th Street and we turned the corner and several families had gotten together and there was probably 25 people. Yeah. The adults were cheering like the Packers had just won the Super Bowl. Wow. You know, I literally had to stop because I had a megaphone and I literally had to stop yelling ho, ho, ho because I was losing it.
Yeah.
I was in tears.
Correct.
Like, I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, but that's, to me, that's what Northern Lights does.
Yeah.
Northern Lights provides that kind of fun.
Yep.
But also safety and security.
Yeah.
So my goal in the next year to 3 years is to build that sustainable, again, so I can step away.
Correct.
It's still run and provide opportunities to other people that are struggling in either real estate or some other type of sales role, give them another platform and give them the coaching and support that they need and give them an opportunity and to provide that to them. You know, I have a friend in Minnesota who started a lighting company based on us starting a lighting company.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And so we're talking about how synergies we can partner and do things. And this is a retired NFL player. And he took my idea and he's running with it. Like, cool. Like, if that happens, rinse and repeat.
For it. Yeah.
I don't care. In my books, I have an open playbook.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's kind of like real estate. Anybody calls me and says, hey, how do you do this? I tell them, like you.
Yeah.
I actually, I got a lot of that from you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and a lot of it, like I think, similar to what you said with the impact that you can make in people's lives. Yeah. Like say you hoard all the information for yourself and you're just like, okay, I'm going to grow this. I'm going to amass a certain amount of wealth or stuff or tangible things versus sharing what you know and giving the information so people can, whether it's impact their families' lives, their own lives, or whatever the case is. It's in my mind, that's so much more fulfilling. And I get a certain level of fulfillment on my side of like, holy shit, like look at what we're doing, look at what they're doing, look at what they're doing from the information that we gave them. And I guess that's a little bit of a egotistical thing, but it's still you're helping in the process.
You're filling your cup through your process. And you know, people, when I used to do all my nonprofit volunteering, people were like, Mike, why are you volunteering so much? Yeah. Because that's what filled my cup.
Correct.
That's what provided me. Again, I don't need all the money. I need satisfaction and gratitude and happiness in life. No. So I'll volunteer. I pay for things for people. You know, I mean, it's just we pay. You know, for Christmas we support a family. You know,
that's so cool.
Just whatever they need. You know, every year for school we buy 4 times the amount of school supplies that we need for Corbin, and we donate them to the classroom.
That's so cool.
Because again, I'm in a position where we're not wealthy, but I'm not living paycheck to paycheck. Correct. And I'm at that moment able to, because I plan for it, because I know I'm going to do it, I plan for it. So you don't have to be uber wealthy to give back. Right. There's so many ways to give back. And I always challenge people, volunteer 1 hour, 1 hour a month, do 12 hours a year. If we were to do that as a whole, things would be way different.
And is there a certain like faith component that plays into it on your side, or is it just like, because like what you're the tenets that you're speaking of, that's what it resonates in my mind of, like the amount that you're willing to contribute to others and not seeking anything in return. But that's where I'm like, if there's not, that's we don't necessarily need to dive into it very much, but that's what I just wanted to bring that up, because I'm like, it's pretty incredible to have that without.
It isn't like I've never been one big on religion. And I've gone, but I'm not like, I don't practice one way or the other. I mean, I believe. So I guess that's kind of resonates from it, but no, this is just, I mean, it comes from my upbringing, which was not great. Okay. And so therefore I have a much different perspective. So, but that's a whole nother podcast.
Well, I know that's what we're gonna say. Mike Bennett's gonna be back in the studio at some point here in the near future. That's gonna be
volumes.
I know. Like there's so many things that are running through my mind, and we're coming up on the hour mark. I don't know if it's felt like that long, but Joe, any questions?
Yeah, I got one question. Oh boy.
Yeah, get ready for this.
No, he gets one and that's it.
Well, maybe a few follow-ups. We'll see. No, but I'm curious if you could kind of break down a little bit on the transition going from being an employee in your business to being that CEO, and what type of personnels you implemented. Because obviously when you're starting a business, like you have to be a jack of all trades, like typically because you don't have a lot of money to really invest in. So curious as to how you got to the point where you're able to step away more frequently and not have to worry about the business basically coming to a halt.
So I learned, so my first year I did 33 transactions as a real estate agent, and I did everything, soup to nuts, A to Z, paperwork, everything. I was my own TC, my own everything.
Yep.
I quickly realized that in order to scale, because I've always wanted to be number one. I know I'm never going to get there as a solo agent, but I always wanted to get there. I knew I needed to, or I learned I needed to bring people in and build processes. So I educated myself through talking with other successful agents, putting myself in rooms that made me uncomfortable to get myself to a higher level. And then I learned scalability is not done by one person. So that's when I started piecing out, okay, it's going to cost me this much, but then I can have this much more in business. And that's where my first piece was a TC.
Okay.
And then I brought on lead generation, cold callers, and started funneling, getting leads that way by paying somebody to call, because I have $1 per hour in my personal life and my professional life.
Right.
That if I can get it done for less than what I value my time at, I'm going to hire it out.
Yep.
You know, I use the analogy of a lawn guy. I have somebody that cut my grass every week throughout the summer, and my $1 per hour is half as much or twice as much as what he charges me to cut the grass.
Yeah.
I will always have him cut the grass. I don't even own a lawnmower anymore.
Wow.
Because if I can find that person that can do it, cold calls.
Yep.
I'm great at them. Yes, I should be the best at them in my organization, but I shouldn't be doing the $15 an hour work. I should be focusing on the $100 an hour part of work.
Right.
But you first have to know what that work is. And that was the biggest when I scaled up, that was the biggest thing, is understanding what don't I need to be doing? What do I need to be doing? And I think agents have an issue or understanding, they fail at understanding what that is.
Right.
But then also putting processes in place. Now, mind you, I am not perfect. I lack in a lot of things. But I work on them, and I have a pretty good process.
Yeah.
You know, if you do a transaction with me, you know exactly, if you've done more than one with me, you know exactly what's coming when it's coming. Yep. You also know once we have an accepted offer that Jessica's your go-to, not me. But I'm involved in every step of that solution. There's never a time that I'm not a part of it.
Right.
So there's some agents that their staff handles it, but that core agent, that first agent, has no idea.
Correct.
That the appraisal contingency is tomorrow. What? And it's panic mode. I keep myself ingrained in the process without having to be hands-on.
Yep.
So I'm working on the business, not in the business at that point. But so it's kind of understanding that and being able to scale what you can scale. Some things you can't replace. People can't go networking for me. Home by Bennett.
Very true.
You know,
That's true.
I can't hire Joe
to
go to the Oshkosh Chambers networking event and build Home by Bennett. Sure, could you pass out my card and talk about it? Yeah, but that's not going to bring in the revenue and the return. It's also understanding that not everything is $1 return. There's an intangible return. You do things kind of like homes.
Yep.
We do things that will increase. So you'll do a new kitchen and a flip. That's $1 return. You paint the outside of a perfectly fine house. There's no $1 return. It's a sellability. You put soffit lighting on your house. There's no $1 return. It's a sellability return. So there's, in your business has the same.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I guess when it comes to figuring out, okay, like you said before, I could have been a great cold caller, still can, but that's not where my time should be spent. Where did you figure out, okay, you know, I'm really good at sales, I'm really good at this, but how do you figure out which one to actually stick with and actually follow through with, and then let pretty much other people pick up the extra work that you don't have the time for?
Twofold. For me, it takes a lot of conversations with people that are way smarter than me. So just about anybody on the street.
Yep.
No, it's talking to people that created Facebook groups that have 260,000 people in them, and actually having a direct conversation with that owner. They obviously know what they're doing,
Right.
but I have conversations with multiple people of that level, and then took away bits and pieces of it, because what works for them in their market may not work for me. But if I take all of their successes and build it to Mike's plan and fit it in the Home by Bennett, then I do it. But it's also then by necessity of having the resources or the people to replace that.
Right.
I am so fortunate, and we should send this to Jessica, but I fell into her. Like it literally stumbled accidentally with my previous firm. She was a corporate TC and then left and went independent when she saw the writing on the wall with them, and that program went away. I got dumb luck. That was, the horseshoe was all the way up there, all the way. And it just happened that her and her husband were vacationing in Door County, and I invited them over for a Packer game, and we got to meet each other in person.
Right.
Because how often do you meet a remote person?
Oh, it's never. You never do.
Never.
Ours are in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
yeah. And so me having that personal connection in that relationship, it's next level. And I'm blessed that she is the best.
Yeah.
You ask any firm, any broker, or any compliance officer in any firm that I've done a deal with on who they want to work with, her name is always top of mind.
Wow.
That in our own firm, our master of money, her husband is now using my TC because she knew the processes that Jessica brought. But you don't always have the Jessicas.
Right.
So if you don't, you have to be able to adapt and overcome. And that's where the creative problem solving side of things, you have to be a creative problem solver to grow a business. Otherwise, you are just going to be the stay-at-home parent that does 3 transactions a year for the neighborhood or the book club.
Right.
Which, hey, you know what? There's a place for that person.
correct.
Not anywhere I want to be around.
Yeah.
But
Very true. I didn't say it.
I did. Scorn Mikey.
Yeah, exactly.
Cancel Home by Bennett.
Yeah. But no, it's, I don't know. I've enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, it's been fun, man.
I know, it's fun. We're going to have you back.
And you and I have talked a lot over the last couple of years. And it's just
like, and that's where I think we've had some like sit downs with people recently that, like in this setting, you learn so much more about what it is that they're doing, like where they're from. Like we had I don't know if you ever talked to Mark Weinstein. He's an awesome guy.
Yep.
But Mark, like we were talking about things.
And
I'm like,
Mark, if you're listening, stop rejecting my offers.
It makes too nice of a product.
Yeah.
Stop rejecting my offers.
But no, that's what, like, we learned things about Mark that I've known him for however many years.
Yeah.
And like you never come across that realization. So I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man.
Where can people connect with you? Where can they follow you? Anything like that?
Yeah. Follow me on Facebook. My Facebook is public, Mike Bennet. Or you can go to Home by Bennett's Facebook, follow Home by Bennett's Facebook, or Northern Lights Exterior Lighting's Facebook. And all of our websites are on those Facebook pages. I do a lot of social media stuff. Not very consistent, but I do it.
Hey, that's all that counts. So
Awesome.
Appreciate you guys watching. As always, hit the like and subscribe button. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.